Okay, I thought I'd take a stab at trying to make a little video of my hat hoop and how I put my hats on the hoop and embroider them. Okay, the first thing that I do is I design what I want on there, then I print it out because I like to be able to see exactly how it's going to look on the hat. If I think it's going to be too big or too little, this might be a hair too tall, but I'm going to try this one anyway. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Before I put my stabilizer on the hoop, I actually attach my hat to the hoop. I turn it over and I pull all of this, the lining part, I pull it out so that it, hopefully that I don't sew on it. So I try to pull that all like that. Flip it over and put it under the holder metal that's right there. So I try to hold this so that it keeps it up the entire time. And then I slide the hat in. I use the lines as my gauge and my marks so that it's centered as good as I can, the best I can do. And I try to put it almost completely to the edge of where the hat starts, right there. Keeping all of this up like this. Then when I feel like that I'm completely good on that, like my lines, I use these lines as a gauge. This hat's a little bit dark, so it's a little bit harder to see it, but that's pretty good. Then I tighten it down. Then I turn it over, put it this way so it's on my counter, and see it flipped up. So this is when I have time to readjust this because I haven't put my stabilizer on yet. When I did it the other way, I would never be able to check how it was going. If I've already got it in here like this and I know that it's flipped up, what I'll do is I save my little scraps of sticky stabilizer and I use them kind of like tape. I can pull this one apart. And what I'll do is I'll just go in here and pull all of this like this and tape it where I can see it so that I feel like it's already down, out of the way. Then I like, the fastest and easiest for me is to use the 8x8 pre-cut adhesive squares. And I know that I could cut them myself, but I don't want to take the time. So then I come back here to the hoop and I use that line right there as my gauge. I place this on the frame like this, smooth it out, and I can also pull my hat back on the other side so that it's out of the way, push everything flat, and then I take this stabilizer and just rip it up and move it out of the way. So now you can see this is the inside, how it's going to look. So then I come right here and I pull my hat down straight from here to right to that back line, so that's straight. And I work my way out from right here. And I just pull this excess up over to the side. And try to get all the bubbles out of it so that everything is smooth. Got a little bubble right there. You can just pull up and reattach. So I'm basically smoothing everything out right here, and I don't have to worry about this part here because that's going to go back behind my machine, so it won't be in the way. So all of this is ready to go. So it's going to go in. I have the Single Needle Alliance Baby Lock right now. So it's going to go in the machine like this. Now here is what I believe is the real key to my hats coming out the same every time I do them. I take a straight pin and I mark right here where the hat actually connects to the brim. So I don't want any of my stitching to be any lower than right here. So kind of give myself a gauge. All right. So now I go over to my machine and I will attach my hat. And here, move the excess back. And if you look right here on the actual screen, I'm gonna choose this design and I'm gonna say set. Then I click it, and my machine has an LED light, which I think is invaluable. So I'm centering it up right now to there. So as the design is currently, it's in the center of the, I go ahead and use a 200 by 200 hoop, 8 by 8, and so that I can move it around. So it's in the center. But in the center point right here, if I was to scroll through my, where the threads are, the design, I want to find out where the LED light would be on the bottom of the S, the center bottom. So I scroll through here like this, and pretty much I've just found that point, because this is a satin stitch of the S right here. And I'm sure there's a quicker way to do this, but it works for me every time. So that's the bottom point, with the center being the original center. So then I go back over here to the frame, and I put a straight pin in that point right there. It's a little bit harder to do it one-handed. Okay, so basically I need to move my design down by that much, the original placement. So I go back on my, go back to the main screen, and I forgot to put a pin. This was the original center point right here. So now I take my measuring ruler and I use this point here as how much I want to, my ruler of course is not moving. Oh, it's stuck. Maybe it's bent. I want to come down that much. So I take the center point, the original center point, and I get another straight pin. Sorry about this wobbling all around. And I mark the original center point, but I want to move it down because I want it to be lower on my hat. Okay, so that's the point. So now I go back to my screen and I move my design down by the actual measurement right here. So I'm going to move my dot down to right there. And I kind of want it a little bit over. So I don't know if you noticed, but I took the dot from that first straight pin, I took it down to the second straight pin. So I'm just moving my design down the hat exactly the distance of the length of what that letter would be. Anyway, I don't know if you get that, but I'm telling you, my husband actually figured this out on like the fourth hat that I did. He came in and kind of showed me how to do this, and I do it every time, and my hats always come out exactly where I tell them to be, where I want them to be. So once I have that done, if I'm not sure, I'll go back over here and I'll just double check myself on that new point. I'm moving the, if you can see the little green arrow, I'm moving it because I want to be absolutely positive. And if you look down here, my LED light is right where my straight pin is. So everything is good. I come back over here, I say go back to stitch 0, say okay, and now I'm ready to stitch out my hat. So don't forget to pull out all the pins, because that would be a disaster. And here we go. Way through the design. So now I'm almost to the last letter here. Well, we are starting the last letter. So you can see that it's stitching out. It's pretty straight. Sometimes you have to watch right here, watch putting your finger there for sure, that it doesn't, the hat doesn't curl back over and pucker right there. And I need to get those little plastic spatulas so I don't stick my fingers in there. But at any rate, you get the idea. And I think this is looking really good. I'm really pleased with this. So I'm going to let the rest of the letter stitch out and then here, just a few hundred stitches left, and my hat's done. I really believe the key for me has been to find the center, find where I want the lowest point to be, and take those measurements and adjust them accordingly, and I never have a problem. And also a real breakthrough for me was putting the stabilizer on after I had the hat placed. So there's my hat. So I'll just pull it out of the machine. Put everything down. Bring it out over here. And what I like to do is sort of pull it right here, unloosen it. It's a little tricky with one hand, but there you go. Then turn everything back the way that it should be. Flip all this down. And what I do then is I take it and I will put it like on a cup with a rubber band and kind of shape my hat a little more. Now it looks like that because I did want it so low, I barely caught the inside right there, and I've had that happen before. And all I do then is take a little pair of scissors and cut just this little teeny edge of the lining. I don't cut any of the stitching, but just loosen it right there. It's really not a big deal. I would rather it be as close as I can to the brim than, you know, not catch it because it's too high. Because I've had that happen too before I got my little system here. So there's the inside. Here's the outside, and there you go. There's the hat. Now this hat, I probably should have decreased the S by a little bit because, so that it's not so high up the hat. So I always have to try on my hats after I make them to make sure that they came out the way I wanted them to. And like I said, I went a little bit high up on this particular hat, and I should have just sized the S down a little bit. But overall, I really like it. I think it works for me. I hope that helps you.